Okay, we're here with David Gregory, who just wrapped up a multi-year arc on One Life to Live.
That's true.
Played Ford, one of the Ford brothers, or the Ford Torsos, as they were affectionately known by the daytime community.
I'll take it. We had a great time. I was only supposed to be doing the show, I think 2.5 weeks, and it ended up being 2.5 years.
Yeah, so why don't you actually, let's go back to the beginning and start before you were one of the Ford brothers. You started out acting in Alaska, which is where you're from. It's quite a step from New York.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I've wanted to do since I can remember. I don't ever remember not wanting to do this. And I fortunately grew up in a town that was just big enough to do it, but just small enough to be given opportunities that I don't think I would have been given otherwise. And surprisingly, there's great community theater up there. I was a dancer growing up, and I learned, from a great ballet teacher. And I'm not so much a dancer anymore, but having that discipline early on in life, it's just like karate or anything where you're forced to maintain a discipline and have a regimen that it affects other areas of your life. And I believe that between being given chances and also having that instilled in you at such an early age, I feel like that was sort of what brought about where I am today. And I would say that to anybody. Yeah, just did community theater and was in a few ballets growing up. At first against my own will. I just, I had very good parents who were always like, well, this would be good for you. You should, give this a shot. And so I did. A lot of it's the company you keep. So I had a couple other good buddies of mine that we sort of grew up dancing together, and it was like every year, I'll stay in it if you stay in it. All right,
yeah.
So there's that camaraderie there, and I feel like that's another reason why people do theater. Went to Interlochen in Michigan my senior year of high school for a summer, and that was when I kind of realized maybe I should seriously consider giving this a shot in New York, because at the time it was all musical theater driven. I mean, I think I always wanted to end up in TV and film. I think everybody at some point entertains the idea of, wow, what would that be like? But where I was growing up, there was no outlet for TV and film. So I did the only outlet I could see, feasible. While I was at Interlochen, I talked to a buddy of mine there that told me about Baldwin Wallace College in the Cleveland area, Berea, Ohio. And he said, if you want to do musical theater, you should go there. So I was like, I never heard of this school. And it took me a while to realize, I should get on the ball. Being all the way from Alaska, I figured I'd start auditioning for schools and doing that kind of thing. So senior year I auditioned, and it ended up being exactly what I was looking for. They had a New York showcase for the seniors, which, it's wonderful. It's invaluable. You could get the degree, especially a performing arts degree, which is risky anyway, and they just give you the degree and say, well, good luck. This was a situation, and many schools do this now, but here's your degree. Let's take you to New York. Let's get you an agent. Let's set you up so that when you're done, you're ready. So I haven't done much musical theater since I've moved. I got my equity card out in San Jose the fall of 2008, right after I graduated, doing I was a gay stripper in the Full Monty.
Okay.
And so you could say I got to take off my clothes. Yeah. And that was the last stage show I did. But it was sort of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say now. I'll go back. I got this job and came back to New York, not sure what to do. And that was when sort of more TV and film was falling on my lap. My first real television job was an episode of Law and Order, which I didn't get cast in. I was the second choice. The guy that got it had to bow, so I got it. So I recognized the fact that it was the right place at the right time, and I was very fortunate. Did a commercial earlier in the summer, little bits and pieces here, but I feel like most people would say the same thing. The first year in New York is very roller coastery.
Right.
And after that roller coaster of a winter, when the economy hit, fall of 2008, I think I went all of November without a single audition. A lot of projects were either canned or there just wasn't the funding for it. And we were thinking, it's time to get a survival job. I'd done odds and ends here and there, and you know, through the commercial was able to save some money, but that was quickly running out, as it does in the city. Auditioned for One Night to Live in June, and got called back a few days later. I remember going into the callback reading for Frank Valentini, the executive producer, and I got on the train to go back home, and by the time I got above ground, I had the call saying I had the job, which was supposed to be, I think, 8 episodes or something, which, you know, still very grateful for. And shot those. About a month went by, and they were supposed to come back for a good long time.
Yeah, you had a great run on the show.
Yeah.
And the show just has got off the air, and your character was killed on it, and that ended up giving you a chance to do your best work to date on the show.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
So what kind of challenges did that bring? Knowing that the show was ending, number one, what did that put into your head?
Well, to be completely honest with you, when I initially got the job as a contract player, I started reading a lot of articles online about just the show's history and where it was going, and a lot of people said, you know, cancellation was in the works. They were talking about it because CBS had some cancellations the year before, and so I knew that it was inevitable, and I sort of had this innate feeling that I was going to be in the closing cast. I didn't know how lucky I would actually be, because, you know, some people were let go and some people didn't, you know, make it all the way through. But I just wanted to have the job, and I wanted to have it long enough to be able to save some money and be able to learn, because I knew that that's perfect ground to learn. So I sort of took, especially the first year, I took it as 1 week at a time, you know, and for contract players, we work in cycles, so I had 13-week cycles, so I at least knew I was guaranteed 13 weeks. And I was able to save at least half a paycheck every time. So I sort of took it like, let's be cautious at first. And then there was a point after, I believe, the first year where I was like, I'm going to enjoy this because I know that if it ended tomorrow, I'm okay. And I feel like with any job, with any actor, at any time, you have to sort of plan for the unemployment part of it and have your little cushion and, you know, be safe, be careful. So, but during that time, things started ratcheting up. They brought family on for me on the show. I got 2 brothers, I got a mom and a dad, and I got some great storyline. And that usually, you know, it takes a while on a show. You have to earn your keep, and there's other people that have been on the show, you know, 30 years that deserve a good storyline as well. So I was very lucky, very grateful that that happened so quickly. It ended up being the best experience of my life, and I had no idea what was going to come out of it when we started. But I learned so much about how to do this and feel more equipped going into whatever the next chapter is. I was telling somebody the other day, I don't necessarily believe in the out-of-work actor anymore, because that's sort of a negative spin on the situation.
Right.
I believe in the auditioning actor, which, you know, I've had some really rough times since the show is closed, as far as thinking I have a job or getting close to something and then it not panning out. And that's just the nature of this business. But with that mantra in mind, it's still kind of, that's what brings my head above the water and go, okay, you know, it's not so bad. Everybody's got to go through it.
Right.
And someone was telling me the other day, it doesn't matter how low you go or how bad it feels at any given point. When the good does happen, you will remember.
Right.
That.
Absolutely.
And I feel like if the net gain is up, it's just like, you know, stocks. They go up, they go down. But if the net gain is
right,
then you're doing okay.
And you booked an episode of Gossip Girl, which you're going to be on in April, right?
Okay, so I had this conversation with my agents as soon as the show was over, essentially saying, well, on the show I sort of played my own age, 20, 25, 26, because he was an assistant professor at a school. And, which is ironic, because I'm actually the youngest of the 3 boys that played brothers in real life, but I played the oldest.
Played the oldest.
And so I thought, you know, let's have this conversation. It's safe to assume I probably won't be playing high school age anymore. And they're like, yeah, I think you're probably at that. Well, I get this call to go in for an audition, and it says, for Gossip Girl, it says the role's got to be 18. But they're seeing me because they sort of were expanding the age. I thought, okay, maybe it'll be like early 20s. That's fair. I went in, and was lucky enough to get it. I had no idea, you know, what kind of role it was when I got it. And I guess what they meant by expanding the age is that they're seeing anybody to play 16. Because the script clearly says he's 16.
Oh.
So, I mean, not that I'm ungrateful, I think it's ironic we just had that conversation about not playing high school anymore. I had a blast. I had an absolute blast with these people. I'm essentially on the show to play cougar bait for Elizabeth Hurley, who's recurring in the show, and got to work with her, and Chase Crawford, and Ella Peck, who's a new recurring role in the show. And we had a great time. I know this is sort of a safe haven for one-life actors. I know a lot of other actors in the show.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. It was so fun to do something else post One Life that allowed me to use what I've learned. I mean, I'm used to going in and doing sometimes 40 pages a day, lightning speed. And this was, you go in, you sit down, you get your makeup on, and you got 2 pages to shoot in 3 hours. It's not as stressful. And so I was able to relax and just have fun, which was, not that One Life wasn't fun, but sometimes it would work. It was, you know, you really had to.
Well, you were also on a lot. It's not like you were on once a week. You were on 4 or 5 days a week.
It was, especially my first summer on the show, it was a lot of material, and you know, at one side you can complain, oh, I don't have time, but the other side you can say, hey, I'm working, and I'm loving what I do, and I get to work with some great people. So, the grass is always greener, and I've chosen to choose to say, I've got green grass on my side too, if that makes sense.